Everybody, welcome to today's Hot Planet Repair Team meeting. It is April 21st. As always, meeting on Thursdays, every other Thursday. And the meetings that we're not having this general Hot Planet Repair Team meeting, we'll have social meetings at the same time on that alternating week. So what are we doing in these meetings? We are updating on you the progress we've been able to make, the opportunities that exist for you to get involved, and our plans for the future and how to scale up Planet Repair, our global community, and everything else that we're doing to help out each other. So some updates. As is pretty clear, since we're a new nonprofit established just back in September, and everyone's working with their own efforts to build up this movement, this NGO, we need to build up our fundraising efforts first. Like most organizations, that we need resources. Unfortunately, it's a world where money does not grow on trees. As this image shows you here, that's still not money on trees, and that's not even a realistic tree that is shaped around in the planet in these ways. But we need our money trees, and we need them to shake well and work together to get those fundraising efforts built up in the right direction. So we've been working hard to get our Blackbot system up and running, the top fundraising platform. We have the system. It provides lots of different capabilities for CRM, different funding databases, keeping track of our prospective donors, existing membership, sending out social media and crowdfunding opportunities and email marketing. So there's a lot of work that we need to do in order to improve our fundraising. So we're going to quickly talk about that there, what we've been doing and going on, as well as some of the donor recruiter and philanthropic reps that we're getting on board. Also want to touch on the fact that there's plenty of opportunity for social media support to get involved. We need to recruit all organisms and organizations. So that's a big task we had ahead of us. And the more outreach that we can have, the more people that we can influence and persuade to join our Hot Planet Repair team, or at least play a role in some aspects of scaling up Planet Repair across different regions, to learn about what we're doing and how to get involved. So we need support with marketing, social media. If anyone wants to get involved, you reach out to us at team@hotplanet.repair or my email and through the website, which should be pretty accessible. Don't be shy. If you do have some skills or ideas or ways that you can get involved in helping out there. Anything we want to touch upon about the great untrashing, turning trash into cash? Tyler and Alan, any developments over the past weeks or month that would be helpful for some of our members?
Yeah, sure. I can touch on that. And thanks everybody for showing up and participating. I call it the great collaboration because that's what it's going to take to get us out of this mess and clean up from the big party we've just had. Ultimately, from the standpoint of the Great Untrashing, a member organization, Carbutura, is scaling globally regenerative infrastructure to eliminate municipal solid waste and even landfills and landfill mining, converting that with 100% diversion. I'm learning some new vernacular as I'm finding out that the term recycling doesn't work because 90% of the plastics haven't been recycled. So it's more of a failed marketing campaign than a solution. And what Carbutura is going out is 100% recycling of all municipal waste, all plastics, tires, organics, inorganics, and turning that into renewable materials. So we're basically scaling that out globally as a no-cost revenue center for municipalities and people that manage that municipal waste. And had a phenomenal conversation with the head of sustainability for the Greater Phoenix area. They own and operate a huge amount of landfills in that area and are producers of a tremendous amount of municipal waste daily. And so we're being considered for a pretty sizable solution for them. And because we're coming in as ultimately a free service to them, providing revenue for the life of the project and life of the service over multiple generations, it creates huge revenue streams for the people to support ESG and SDG initiatives. The latest conversation was with them and also working globally in both developed and least developed countries. So we're in discussions to scale that there as well, because a lot of times they've been taking the trash and so we don't know what to do with it. We create so much, we're just shipping it around everywhere. So ultimately, we've found a solution as a virtual landfill. Part of what we're doing in HPRT is to show a demonstration facility and global planning center for technologies and services like this and others to really hyperscale this planet repair industry that's being created, because it's one of the biggest industries that's going to ever be created by man. because it has to equal the size of the problem. The solution has to equal the size of the problem. And if this problem is the biggest challenge that humanity has ever faced, then the opportunity in the industry around solving that problem is going to be the biggest industry we've ever created. So it's just a natural order, and we don't realize it yet, but that's where we're going. And that's why we need people to become members, to participate how they feel they're accretive to the message to support what we're doing here. I think that's probably about it on the untrashing, and I can tap in a little bit later. And
yeah, perfect. Thank you, Tyler. I mean, at the Hot Planet Repair Team, we know and recognize that there's not only a hot planet, but a trashed one. That for the past 200 years, we've been trashing. We need to untrash it, have a great time while we do it, build our global community, have its local activities in ways that it will be untrashing that. So as our partners like Carbatura and others play a big role in doing that, we're going to be able to scale up our efforts and how we can support these activities, efforts.
I can tag it in one more thought and topic here. We are working with Envirodynamics, across the United States organization working with municipalities on their recycling programs and zero waste initiatives. They've been in the recycling industry for decades, worked with the UN, World Bank, some very, very influential people and groups. And then for materials handling, for actually the landfill mining, NER Global out of Canada, they deal with a lot of materials handling and soil remediation around the world. And we're working on teaming agreements with them to help accelerate this untrashing.
Fantastic. Thanks for these very helpful updates, Tyler. Someone want to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to ask a question. This concept of virtual landfill caught my ear, and I don't know what it means.
The easiest explanation is that in Carbatura, we're offering a service that is a capacity level service, almost like a power purchase agreement or a dark fiber networking agreement, where we're selling the services of eliminating your MSW at so many tons per day. And what we do with MSW is we've developed in Carbatura a series of technologies that recycle 100% of municipal solid waste.
I get it now. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the questions. Anyone have at any point, please jump in and ask very helpful ways to help us better understand what's going on. But I'm going to keep moving on ahead here and say that we got our Eventbrite page going on, our events page on our website, so go check those out. And we're rolling out more content as possible, some articles that we're writing. So our next article is about the Connectory, and that's helpful because we're going to be talking about that today. But before we go into what is the Connectory and some of those mechanisms we're building, I'd like to quickly talk about how we're hunting for grants. And I'd like to hand over the mic to Alan now to talk about this.
Yeah, hi, everybody. So we're in the middle of about 50-60% done on a very large grant, a USDA grant, and it's focused around agriculture, carbon capture, and what they call climate smart commodities. We're applying for that grant to actually bring up and put in place demonstration equipment and things like that for the demonstration and planning center. We're also working on some other local grants. Tyler and John have been working on something with Collier County, and we're just looking for any grants that we think we can apply to. We'll have a pretty good written library that we can call on of content to apply for grants, I would imagine, in the next 30 days, where if a grant pops up, we ought to be able to respond to it within a few days. So that's where we are in the grants right now.
Thank you very much. And just, to let everyone know, is these grant efforts, they will expand over time and develop. We're hoping that we can get those of you who are more into the cultural forces of the world and art and music, that we can get some grants regarding some certain events or concerts for planet repair and untrashing the planet, or other ways that we can use art to represent the ways in which we're scaling up planet repair. So we're going to be eventually going down lots of different routes for grants, but for now, as Alan mentioned, these are the areas that we're focusing on. One thing we also wanted to quickly touch upon today, as we do every time, is explore what is your role within planet repair and the Hot Planet Repair team. We all need to understand what intrinsically motivates us, what ways can we help out with our various expertises or ambitions in planet repair within our team. If you're confused about, what are the different opportunities within Hot Planet Repair team, it's not clear to you, go to our careers page, reach out to us. And in previous YouTube videos that we've hosted on our meetings, which you can find on our YouTube channel, those will run through the different areas within Hot Planet Repair team. But just to reiterate them right now, there's various opportunities in fundraising, whether it's through crowdfunding and peer-to-peer fundraising, or it's with going through more sales kind of focus of ways of cold calling, reaching out via email or existing people in our databases. There's other ways you can get involved with PR, communications, marketing, event management, whatever you're passionate in and areas that you want to expand upon, let us know. I've met with plenty of our new members and partners that are interested in content and storytelling. There's ways for you to get involved there. So explore what is your role within Plan Repair. We can help you figure out how to do that. And here's a nice quote that Tyler threw in here. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. So this is a good quote here to help us understand that what we're doing is about what we're selling, what are we delivering to society, and do you really believe in that? Does that align with what we all need in order to sustain our planet, homes, and careers and hobbies? So what we're going to talk about today more is about the Connectory for the planet repair. Why do we need a Connectory? For a lot of those that work within sustainability and various areas of civil society, NGOs, you often see that many are left without the resources they need, with the right ways to connect with other stakeholders, to build the right collaborations, partnerships, and such. So we are trying to find better ways to bridge that isolation, the misallocation of things, the inefficiencies that are caused. If anyone wants to jump into on the team about why we need a Connectory, please do so. I'm just going to quickly point out that it's really about figuring out what is missing, what are the best sorts of resources you could allocate, how do you build it, what kind of support is involved along the way with various sorts of people, places, and things. So Alan, do you have anything you'd like to say on why a Connectory?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know how to make 7.9 billion phone calls in my lifetime. I mean, a Connectory all of a sudden starts connecting the pieces and allows us to start focusing. Go to the next slide. I mean, this is all about pulling together relationships, people, places, and things, and what they do, what they can do, everything that you can think of. And go to even to the next slide. Think about it this way. People, every person's going to have a profile. Everyone on this phone call will have a profile. Your interests, your expertise, your values, and what places and things you're associated with. We should be able to use this data set to be able to find anything, everyone, and every location or every place that we're interested in, good or bad, by the way. Think of it as a database of the planet. 5 years from now, I hope to have 1 billion records in this database. That would be a nice goal. It ties together all of these things and then allows for communications and transactions to happen between the people, places, and things. So that's the purpose. It's got a very simple purpose, but it'll have a lot of data.
Yeah, and to give people more of a practical understanding about what kind of problems we could solve, I'd like to explain my experience working in trying to scale up solutions across Africa for climate. What you often find across the continent in the various communities, whether it's in NGOs or funders or the governments you got to work with, you got to figure out who are the good people, places, and things that can help you scale up that solution in the most efficient way, that can build up the frameworks that protect the communities and give them the power to scale up the solutions and the co-benefits. But also understand where are the bad people in organizations that have made it harder in order to implement those solutions. You know, so you can understand who you should work with, who you probably shouldn't work with, but also what kind of things are needed for various ecosystems. There's a lot of information and knowledge out there that needs to be shared in existing Connectories out there. We also understand, right, Alan, is that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of different Connectories out there in different ways. So we want to highlight them, give them the platform they need in order to serve the purposes of the greater planet repair Connectory. Anything else that you'd like to add there?
Well, I think it's really simple. Everyone here on this call and everybody we know has their own network of everything, a network of people, network of places and things, values and expertise. And this is about uniting and bringing those together and allowing you to sort through that giant pile. It's about efficiency, basically.
Yeah, we are sick and tired of inefficiency in planet repair. That's why we're here. Yeah. We're trying to become as efficient as possible and develop the right communities, networks around it to make it more fun to implement things. And that involves great efficiency. I see, John, you have your hand up.
I do. I just want to say that the need for a Connectory is clear. There are two problems, right? One is we need a Connectory. The other is there are many Connectories.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone hopes that they're going to create the one true connectory. And I just want to raise the possibility that the way to get out of that trap is to think about the connectory as an open source shared database, which we can render on the Hot Planet Repair Team website, but other people who agree to the terms of the license can also render it in their way. That's the one way I can imagine where there's actually a single comprehensive database,
I agree.
which I think is particularly appropriate when we are trying to deal with a planet that's breaking because of the fractionation. And so I think there's a real opportunity here to try to do something that would motivate all the players to help build the shared knowledge base, still give them ways of competing and profiting, but not lead to the ultimate reinvention of the balkanized situation we're in now.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000% on that one, John.
Yeah, same here.
Can I say something, guys? I think what you're talking about is very important. I was just writing some things down this morning saying that we want to build our lifelong relationships with people and make this fun for them. You know, we want our donors and everybody to know that we are passionate about it as well as they are. So definitely about passion and everybody coming together. We want to be their charity of choice. We want to be their choice for events. I think very important what you're all saying. I love it. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And you bring up a great point. It's often about relationships too. You know, we're all sitting here together because we have a shared purpose and interest that to learn and grow and achieve things together. And so the Connectory, you can also potentially make friends. You can make, you know, other people that you enjoy working and scaling things up with. You can find mentors. There's many different ways in which this Connectory could serve purposes to help us solve one of the other biggest problems on the planet, which I'm sick and tired of seeing people suffer from, and that's loneliness. You know, so there's many different ways in which it can help us lead better lives. So I'm going to give a quote right here from John Kabat-Zinn, the great leader on meditation and awareness. He says, "To drop into being means to recognize your interconnectedness with all life and with being itself. Your very nature is being part of larger and larger spheres of wholeness. And you have to find better ways to connect with things around you in order to achieve that." What I wanted to quickly bring up here are some of the different areas we might delve into. These are just ideas about the first ways in which we expand the Connectory. In the coming weeks, we're going to develop the right structures and software in which we are going to be collecting the first rounds of Connectory information and setting things up. Some of the pilot concentration areas could focus on some of the biggest problems we have, such as municipal solid waste. We're talking about Carbotero solution others earlier, and the others that are turning trash into the commodities that we need and other ways to solve that problem. And it would be great to have one of the first Connectories to be in North America, because two of the top 3 polluters in the world are Canada and the US. So why not make a municipal solid waste Connectory in North America around the biggest waste generators? You could make another one that's a little bit less technologically focused about the ocean, which is 70% of the Earth's outer crust. So that could maybe be the Southeast Pacific, where you could make a Connectory on coral reefs and mangroves, 2 very important ecosystems that need to be protected and empowered. So you could make a Connectory around there. That's an idea. One that's definitely close to my heart at the moment and many others around the world is a regional Connectory for Eastern European energy and food transitions, where you could really find ways to help connect people, places, and things in an important region that needs to make transitions in energy and food. I would actually like to get a reflection from John Skull right now about a conversation him and I had about an hour ago about potential ways in which you could connect people, places, and things in Eastern Europe for regenerative agriculture and other nature-based solutions. John, would you mind speaking upon that?
Sure. The Eco Restoration Alliance is particularly impressed by the notion that while carbon drawdown is going to be an important long-term problem, and reducing waste is an important long-term problem, getting carbon into healthy soil is the one thing that can actually cool the planet within a decade. This whole notion of regenerative agriculture, eco restoration, rewilding, permaculture, all of these ways in which humans have learned that they can take relatively underutilized dirt and turn it into rich soil that moderates the weather, feeds people, provides food security, and reduces temperature is really critical. Meanwhile, we have record numbers of refugees all over the world, many of whom are living in some of the most degraded landscapes on the planet, all of whom are food burdens on whoever is hosting them. You could turn that around. All of those people, that captive audience who we need to care for, are all potential creators of healthy soil, dirt, and healthy landscapes. They're in a position to convert the land that they currently are residing in into green, food producing, planet saving landscapes, and the synergies there, as well as the opportunities for demonstrating real care while also making the best possible use of money that is mobilized by quick crises much more effectively than it has been for the slow burn we're currently undergoing, seems huge. So we're thinking about refugee groups in Eastern Europe and refugee groups in Africa and the new crop, pardon me for saying so, of climate refugees who we know are coming, and how to turn them into actually the leaders of the movement to turn this whole thing around.
So thank you for delving into that, John, about some of the different ways in which we could connect with the right solutions, people, places, and things, scale them up in some of the most vulnerable ecosystems and populations in places that really matter now. Before we keep going more into that, I'd just like to touch on this last slide. Alan, anything you'd like to touch upon here on what else we need to include on in the directory, ways that people can get involved?
Yeah, a lot of this is what I would call extension type data, where once you have a person, place, or thing, you can literally extend multiple tables of metrics data, purposes, all kinds of different data can be associated with a people, place, or thing and extended. We have such a diverse planet and diverse groups of people and diverse things going on that there are some commonalities. People, places, and things is a really good commonality. But then there's also, what do the footprints look like? We need to start really tracking what I would call as our planet values. These are things I'd like to work on. And what's your personal footprint? What's your company footprint look like? What does your house footprint look like? Those types of things. And then I think the other thing we have to look at are values, both financial and other types of values, and time. And a lot of these systems don't look at these things, but we have a clock that's ticking, guys.
Good point.
These are things that once you get a large data set, you can start analyzing and understanding a lot of things, especially nobody's tracking all the work that's going on right now. Hopefully we can start doing that type of thing.
Yeah, and there's some interesting wheels out there already that we don't need to reinvent, but need to perhaps bring together in certain ways. Like I stumbled upon a great platform the other week called Klima, which can help you actually identify what is your carbon footprint pretty easily off the bat on your app. But those are voluntarily filled out and not actually monitored, reported, and verified in ways which are as ideal. But there's some existing frameworks and tools which can help us get to these metrics and ways to keep track of it. That will also be included in our playbooks, what we're doing, and eventually in the scoreboarding and leaderboards and other sorts of monitoring, reporting that you'll be finding in the leagues, at the Hot Planet Repair Team leagues, which more information will be coming out in months ahead. But if you want to learn more about the playbooks, you can check out some of our earlier videos on YouTube, as well as some upcoming content and stuff that will be expanded there.
Can I suggest, before you move on to the next slide, go back to that one, that a bullet that should be associated with every item has to do with licensing and rights management. If we're going to take seriously this notion that it's going to be a database to which many can contribute and from which many can draw, I think we're really going to have to think about licensing so that people are able to say this part is made available under these conditions versus not. It's a terrible headache, but it's really critical if we're serious about making this a shared resource.
Yeah, so John, the structure of where we're thinking about putting this is actually a hierarchical multi-tenancy structure, and it has a very deep data lifecycle management capability and permissioning capability where people, places, and things at the high level can be very global and public, but then as you start extending the data sets off of them, they can become very, very proprietary. It provides the level of licensing or level of access according to the licensing you're talking about. So I 100% agree with you.
So it may be that an API is another thing that should be an early part of the design consideration. how will people tap into it, get the information they can have and not get the information they shouldn't have?
Yeah, what we're working on right now is a very high level spec and requirements. And then I would basically run this in layers. The first thing is people, places, and things. And then we start looking at how deep the profiles need to go. And then we start looking at extended data.
Yeah.
And those types of things. And so what's good about it is I'm looking at putting this, another company that I'm affiliated with is a software company that has a zero code serverless based system that builds platforms. It'll probably donate its services to this purpose. We want to get a spec ready, have them take a look at it, and then see what it takes. But it ought to come together really quickly because it's also a zero code platform.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I've been looking at Airtable and Notion and so on. It's clearly the time has come for that. I want to say that your list of people, places, and things is great, but I noticed that you also included processes, and I think that's really great and innovative. So don't drop that one.
No, got to keep the processes.
Absolutely. It's not just about getting those people, places, and things. We got to get the right ways to move forward, progress, achieve. So thank you all for delving into that great conversation there. That's pretty informative about the ways that we need to move ahead with these operations. I just want to answer a question from the audience from a good friend of mine, Jeremy Hale. Jeremy asks, has anyone worked on generating life cycle analyses for systems? I'm going to go ahead and assume that yes, someone has, and at Hot Planet Repair Team, that's going to be an integral part of what we're focusing on, life cycle analyses. If it's got a technical solution, where are the different e-waste and energy outputs? That's the name of the game. That's why we're here, to make sure those greenwashers don't get away with greenwashing. Any other reflections on Jeremy's question from the team, or Jeremy yourself?
I was just going to say there, I did a while ago work on the development of a standard for life cycle approach to products. At the time, they were looking at sort of a life cycle and repurposing of buildings. So that was where the standard was starting, but there was a notion to have a certification. To my knowledge, it never happened, but in a life cycle certification for products. That would be, kind of like an Energy Star thing. So whether or not such a standard, it probably does exist. There was a lot of pushback about actually developing it, but certainly the idea was there. So I'm sure somebody has developed a standard at some point. It's just maybe not used that much.
Yeah, I think, Allison, I think that's one of the toughest things to implement. It really needs to be implemented at the manufacturing level, at the individual process level.
Mm-hmm.
And until we get through retooling the whole supply chains with this kind of thinking, it's not going to happen. And we're smart enough to know that every single process has a footprint, whether it's an energy footprint, a carbon footprint, a water footprint, whatever. Until we actually tag those on, like we do costs and budgeting, we're not going to get anywhere. We might be able to help facilitate that with the people, places, and things thing, where things are also processes and items and products and stuff. But you got to get the rest of the planet to buy into that, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, we did not have a lot of success with the manufacturers. They were not keen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for delving into these tough questions and things we're going to have to tackle, and the world's clearly only going to have to get a little bit more complex as we navigate all these challenges and solutions we got to build up. So any other questions, questions or reflections on anything we've discussed today?
I was just going to build on my question. From my experience in just giving a feedback as someone finally coming back to the group, the life cycle analysis is an important piece where it allows you to make sure that you're not focused on just one aspect, but really the entire system. It's a ton of work up front, but from my experience of working on different projects now, it's really helped us hyper focus on pain points and more efficiently creating timelines for how can we focus energy, how can we focus resources, where do we need to create connections versus where do we have the resources that we can do something today. And it makes it more step-by-step through the process. Instead of trying to repair the whole chain at once, you're breaking it down into smaller links and categories where it's like, okay, the agricultural piece is struggling, but why is it struggling? And it lets you dive into the roots. There's been groups where they've been using phytoremediation produce to try and get things like mercury and arsenic out of their soil. But what was really contaminating it was the PFAs. They identified a problem, but they didn't look at the full spectrum of really how everything was involved in the entire piece. It's just from my experience, I've learned that it's more effort up front, but it's one where it makes each process a little bit easier. you now understand the dynamic of greenhouse emissions and economic values. You can actually make things more quantitative and less emotional as you work through the process.
Jeremy, I agree with you on that. And I think the big thing that we at HPRT need to do is put our climate capitalist hats on and always look through the lens of the corporation, their executives, and the pressure they're under from an earnings perspective. And how do we actually make it valuable for them to do that life cycle analysis or not to greenwash? And how do we actually turn it into a net profit on the triple bottom line for these executives? Teach them how to do that. And then you'll see a quick adoption, I think. And we're seeing some companies do that.
Yeah. And also what we're doing, we're focused on a health plan repair team is transparency, ways that you can really keep track of the bullshit and also the progress that's being made. It's all about the holistic approach as we are building these things, the systems thinking and the long-term planning, not the short-term planning, right? If you go back and check out the articles that we're writing here, all these messages and things we're touching upon aligned with what we need to be doing. It all ties into looking at everything in the long term. Anyone else have any other questions before we end today's meeting?
I want to say, everybody, I think Earth Day is tomorrow. So I was going to just read something quickly here. It says, today, look at your blue sky. Hear the grass growing beneath your feet. Inhale the scent of spring. So happy Earth Day. Let's engage and just increase engagement. Really, tomorrow's a big day. Lots of people think about cleaning up the earth tomorrow. So really get loud, I think. And hey, enjoy our beautiful world. I have to say one thing. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, and it is snowing outside my window. Don't understand, but in the summer when it gets hot, I don't live far from a landfill area. When you get closer in the summer, you can sure smell the garbage. Not at my house, but very close too. Today, I just wanted to say, get out there and enjoy our beautiful world. I know we have lots of cleanup to do, but hey, it's Earth Day tomorrow. Get loud and encourage everybody to join us and help clean up this dirty world, you know? Thank you very much, Nancy. I appreciate it. That's an inspiring message. Everyone get out there, enjoy springtime if it's nice weather for you. And I want to share this message from Albert Einstein that also ties into what we've been discussing today, interconnecting this. A human being is part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He or she experiences himself or herself, their thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his or her consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. Nobody is able to achieve this completely, but the striving for such achievement is in itself a part of the liberation and a foundation for inner security. So thanks everyone for coming today to our meeting at a Hot Planet Repair Team. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. In a week from today, we'll be having our social. Go enjoy springtime, as Nancy said, and thank you. Adios.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.